Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Psychic Diaries. I'm Michael Lamport. I am the producer and narrator of the psychic show Rescue Mediums. And I'm with my cohort, Jackie Dennison, who is the host of Rescue Mediums, and also from Feathers Academy of Clairvoyancy in the UK. And we're very happy to have today on the show actually a good friend of mine, Robbie Thomas, who is a psychic and who deals with law enforcement. But the thing about Robbie that maybe none of you really know is he looks like a really tough guy with tattoos everywhere, but he has 2 rabbits that he lives with. And I think the only reason he has the rabbits is because they paint a picture on his head, because he's bald, and from a distance they look like hairs.
Intro.
Oh, you know, I was almost afraid then, Michael, of what you were going to say. What secret is he going to divulge now about Robbie Thomas? Because we've all got this image, you know, of this this big guy, this psychic, as you say, with the tattoos and everything, and the motorbike, and the psychic profiler. And what are you going to say? What are you going to reveal? I was not expecting that. So you're a big softie, Robbie, then, by all accounts.
Absolutely. We won't split hairs here, but yeah.
Well, you can't, Robbie.
I can't.
So, you know, you're known as the psychic profiler. And as Michael said, you know, you assist with law enforcement as a psychic criminal profiler. What does it actually entail? A psychic how different is it to being just like psychic or clairvoyant? What's different about psychic profiling?
Yeah, the difference, you know, I would say would be just the analogy of being a profiler, being put in a position where a case file will be given to me. And in that case file, certain information will be blocked out if I get the call from, say, Kentucky, New Orleans, wherever. And then when I pertain a little bit more information to them that's not prevalent to me, then that's when they fly me down and I go on scene. So now I'm actually on scene with law enforcement and going to various locations that they've ascertained as crime scenes, let's say.
Right.
And in doing so, there's many times I'm able to speak to suspects in cases. And that gives the edge to the police, because it'll be like a one-on-one with you and I.
Right.
But I'm giving you information about yourself, and then they get tunnel vision. And it's almost like you're sucking them in to your play, story, line, what have you, and then they open up. And then when they do open up, that's when they give it away, and you have the evidence caught on film. And they don't see that. So you're given the perspective of being the psychic on the outside, being brought in on the case as a profiler on scene. And then when you do that, I give the information where before, during, and after a case, what an individual has done before the murder, during the murder, and what they've done after the murder. So they have the full detail. One case in Kentucky, the detective, we made an arrangement with one of the suspects out of the 3 suspects. He agreed, thank goodness, to meet us at the end of his driveway. So we did. We got in the SUVs, but prior to that, we were in the boardroom, and I had crystal board. So I did what I explained here, during, before, during, and after. Wrote all his characteristics down, his persona. We drive up, good cop, bad cop. So Andy's doing the bad cop, and he's doing all his acting and trying to get this kid to break. The kid isn't going to break. And so then he goes, you ask him questions. So then I got a chance to ask him questions, and then he stopped me, and he goes, just a moment. And he brought out the Bristol board. He put it on the back of the SUV, and he said to the kid, Bobby, he goes, you read that. And so Bobby turned and looked at everything, read it, and he turned white, and his jaw fell, because he's seen what everything he was doing at that time, during and after, was going through his mind. It was like a flash, and all he was doing was nodding his head. I had the recorder in my hand, so I had the recorder under his chin, and he's just nodding. And then I'm saying, you were there, and I tried to coax him and explain what was going on, and try to tell him that I know you weren't the one who actually did the heinous act, but you were there and took part in it. And he finally, yes. And he goes, I'll tell you everything. I just don't want to go to jail for life. And so he explained on, yeah. So that's the type of profiling I get involved in, is the actual getting on scene and going to the suspects.
Yeah.
Now, Robbie, have you ever come up against, because I imagine you must have, law enforcement agencies that go like, nah, this psychic stuff is like airy-fairy, it's like weird.
Yeah, yeah. Again, prior to going to Washington, D.C., Maryland, was a CIA agent's daughter who went missing. And I had to draw the landscape, all the information. We faxed it down. And Homer, the detective with Culver County Sheriff's Department and works with the FBI, looked at the information and said, yeah, you better be down here. So they flew me down to Ronald Reagan Airport. I take my wife wherever we go. So we're down there. We go into a meeting. And in the meeting was Homer, the detective, family members, NSA was there. The CIA agents, the mom was there. And as we're going through everything, all I get is a picture of suspect A, suspect B, and a diagnosis of pretty much what they think went on. So I'm looking at it, and then he says, okay, here's a map of Maryland and Virginia, find her. So they threw that down. Then they asked, yeah, and then it gets to the point where Homer was, he said it to him, he said it right out. He goes, I'm skeptic, I'm atheist, I'm skeptic of everything. But we're here, we're gonna get a job done. This is a good example. So send me back to my hotel. The escort us back down to the hotel. I'm in the hotel room, and I tell this story on many shows all the time. I get into the room. I'm a little bit flagged because we just got delayed getting there, and the reception wasn't what I thought it would be, but it's not the fault of the detectives and what have you. What it was the whole scenario of family and everybody, and they're all uptight, and they want these guys. Now I'm in the room, I crack a beer, take a drink, and I take a pen and I circle a little road. But I already named the road on all my drawings and sketches prior to going down to Washington. So then I put them back down. Alicia goes, you're not done, are you? And I said, yeah, I'm done. I'm just freaking done. Today's been a bad day. Morning rolls around, they pick us up, drive us back to the secured building again. They check you all out. We walk in, I hand them the map. Homer doesn't say 2 words. And then I'm looking over at the other detective and everything. They're asking questions. And then Homer stops everything, goes, get in the car. So now I'm in his car. Alicia's in the back. I'm in the front. And he's driving all over every detail of Maryland you could think. Is this the area? They do that to generally try to throw you off to see if you're genuine. I stopped. I said, Homer, let's go back to that road by Andrews Air Force Base. And it was only actually 5 minutes from the murderer's home. And it was off the highway where he had access and no cars going to. And when I said it was a winding road with garbage, everybody dumped all their mattresses and TVs and everything there. That's what it looked like. It was exactly like that. So he gets out, gets on his car like this. He stops the car, he goes, get out. I get out, and he goes, I don't know how you do it. And this is the part he says, I'm an atheist and I'm a skeptic. And he goes, I don't believe this. And he goes, but the only reason you're here is because your drawings and notes that you sent down matched that road I was looking at for 2 years. So that's the only thing that brought me down to Maryland. Wow. So I get down to Maryland. We run the tracks, bring out the dog team, and then we find a bag. Now, he was missing his tools. She was missing women items like a blouse, necklace, flip-flops. When they opened the bag, all that stuff was in the bag, and there was a weapon. There was flip phones. Now they got the bag. Dogs hit on an area, but it was raining, and in the river area where we went, the little river bank or little creek bank, every time they dug, it would fill in because of the water was just rising. So call them back. They said, well, we're going to send you back, and we'll call you in the spring once this all dries up. So now Mom, being CIA agent, didn't want to take the stand in the case against the man because her daughter was a heroin addict and was a hooker, and she didn't want to damage her reputation. It's hard. I have spoken straight out to her about this. You know, sometimes you got to bite the bullet and you got to let go of this to get this. It didn't work that way. So one question, and it posed a great question there when Homer said, you know, and he came up here on Thanksgiving and he didn't charge an arm and a leg to come up here, got the flight and everything, got him up here. And, you know, we need money for DNA analysis. And she goes, but I put my granddaughter through school and I just bought her a brand new 32,000 car. And I just bought 32,000 this. And he looked at me and I said, and I can see the point where it's coming now. It's not much more about her daughter anymore. It's all about the granddaughter. So got to let this go. So I said to him in the car, I said, is that why they washed their hands and threw the case to you? Is because they don't want to handle it anymore? And that's how, and I'll tell you straight up, it is in America. It's probably that way anywhere in the world. If law enforcement do not want to deal with you, and because you won't deal properly with them, they're going to wash their hands of the case. And that's the truth. So we get down into the area and we did what we did. Homer's surprised. We got the bag. We got everything right there, all the evidence and what have you. Now they're taking me back. We're about 4 days in, and now we're going to go take him back to the airport, and he gets a call. And he says over the radio, we know he's in town. Can you bring him up to Washington? So now they fly me all over to Washington, and it's a high-profile case of a biker guy in 1986. He thought his girlfriend turned snitch, and he owned this farmland. And the aerial shots where his trailer was here, and his sister's trailer was over here, and I'd say it'd be about 100 yards in between. And there was the creek, a big, deep ravine, and tree line, and a road, one road coming in. And so I'm on scene with all these big, tall cops, and they've been digging since 1991, looking for her body. What he did was he shot her, he stabbed her, he had sex with her while she was dead, put her in a red sleeping bag, and he said, and this on film, I'm going to bury the bee where I can see her every day.
Oh my God.
He's in jail. His gang turned state's evidence. He got wind of it, and as they did a jail sweep into his cell, they found a list with names with check marks. These were the same guys that turned state's evidence, and you're going to bump them off. So, lovely. We're looking at a guy in jail who's going to bump off the witnesses, and they want to keep him in jail, and they're pressed for time. I'm on scene, and John, the main guy who's been on it for 1991, Homer drove me over, and he goes, we got months, not days. We only have months left, not years, months. We got to keep him in here. We're looking for the body. And they showed, I seen it. It was like $1 million homes. And as you drove up, it looked like the set of E.T. or something from Hollywood. And there's all these diggers and cop cars everywhere. And so I said, you have aerial photos. And so John says, yeah. And the younger guy, who's a detective, says, I know they're in the trunk. And he runs and grabs them and brings them over. He pulls out all these aerial photos, and I took one. And as I explained to you, the trailer, and we're looking down now, right? And I just turned it about 20 degrees. And I looked, and I followed the topography of the land. And I told him, I said, you follow me here. And I pointed, and I pointed over that way. And I said, where would her trailer be? And he goes, right there by that house over there, right on here in the picture. And I said, all right. He goes, but wait a minute. You tell me one thing that I'm going to believe you. You're on my death scene. You tell me one thing that I'm going to believe you that pertains to this case. Where is she? And I looked at Homer and I said, okay, I don't see her where you've been digging. what I see is she's underneath something like a tank. And that man hugged me. He ripped the patches off his arms and handed them to Leisha. And he goes, brother, he goes, nobody knew that. We're the only ones who knew she was buried under a tank, a septic tank. And I said, well, where's the trailer? And so they were digging where his trailer was. They couldn't find nothing. They found some charred remains, but they thought they were animal bones. So they sent them to DNA analysis. So now we're over here at this lady's house. Only spot that had never been dug. And I'm looking around, you guys, I'm looking around. Like if you and I, all three of us were sitting there and we were looking around, we're going, we see an iron fence about maybe 2.5 feet high. And it goes about 15 feet, 15 feet, 15 feet. And then there's a tree in the middle with a bunch of vegetation along the side, like a little garden. But it's like this. Here's the land. Everything's fine. And then it goes like this. And the tree's in the middle. I said, what happens to a septic tank after like 20 years, 30 years? He goes, well, it decays and it crumbles. And then he looked at the ground and he looked over at the other cops, and all the other cops stood up and they're all looking and they're going, that makes sense because the tree is not level, it's like down. And I said, where was her trailer now? And the trailer would have been right here. And I said, well, if the road came in on that photograph and the septic tank would have been here, easy access for them to pump it, it'd be right there, wouldn't it? Oh, and they just went, oh my gosh, they went and got a warrant. And then that's my end of my story. And then now they had to dig there. Only spot they never dug. Now I'm back home. The phone rings. And it's about, it was actually a year to the very day. And it's a CIA agent on the phone. She says to me, you found her. You found her. Oh my gosh, you were right. 100 feet from the road in the tree line right there, buried right there, wrapped in a red blanket. And I said, oh, good, good. She goes, but we got to wait because they're doing dental because she's so decayed. I said, okay. I think it was 2 weeks later went by. She called me. She goes, Robbie. She goes, it's not her. You found somebody else's baby that was murdered, wrapped in a blanket the same way I explained. I said, wow. So now we got one body found. We got evidence of what happened to your daughter in a bag. And I just finished another case in Washington with the FBI and everybody. And that was a very detailed thing to go through. But getting back to your question about skeptic, that's when Homer turned to me afterwards and he nonstop texted me after. And he said, I'll work with you anytime at all. Yeah, because, it just switched him like that, right? Yeah.
But Robbie, with your psychic ability, I mean, full disclosure, I know you, I've known you for years. Do you like this aspect of dealing with law enforcement and people that are missing and seeing what you can find out?
Yeah. I just did a case out of, oh my gosh, here in Ontario, down by you, Michael. The boy, they thought the boy was murdered. And it was this last 2 weeks ago. No, sorry, about a week ago, because the mom just wrote me on Friday. And I said, no, it was suicide. And they couldn't get their head around it. And I said, before you say anything, and it was like a Zoom meeting like this, I said, before you say anything and me coming there or talking with the detective more, I'm to tell you about Michael, my friend I live with, who committed suicide. And it's in my book, my other book. And I said, I'm getting the point that Nathan wants me to say that it was suicide. And I went through all the emotions. And sure enough, it turned out it was suicide. It wasn't where they were trying to, do I like doing that aspect of it? That part hurts. That part kills me. Victoria Stafford. We all know Victoria Stafford.
Yep.
I'm the man they planted in the mother's house. I'm the man who drew where her body was. I was there when Rodney did his lie detector test. I was in the office with Detective Brown and going through all the aspects of all the photographs and video, whatever they had. Do I like it? No. But the only gratification I truly get out of it is that we got those two people who did that to Victoria. And then in the emptiness of that, it ends. And then is there gratification after that? No, it's at that moment that there's gratification. And that's the only part I get. Like Little Caesar Candle in Kentucky, when we caught that guy who killed him in 2007, and he's in jail for life, it was gratification at that moment, because it was everybody just, it was, I don't know, the sweltering of help, need help, everybody wanting to do this. But then after it's done, you feel, I'm serious, feel empty inside. And I think about all these cases all the time. So hence the reason, I'm not trying to put a shameless plug, but hence the reason I did this book. The reason I did that book was to detail, in essence, their story. And in that story, I walk you through every bit of every crime. And there's 15 murder cases in there and missing persons cases. And in there, I give you all the details from text messages, emails, photographs, the law enforcement testimonial saying, yeah, he solved this, he did it this way, and this is how it all ended. That's their story. It's not to get satisfaction out of, hey, I wrote the book and I put those stories in there. I wanted to keep them alive. And I think that was the point of me doing that. I truly do.
I think that's great, Robbie, that you've done that in that way, because you are honouring those that have lost their lives, or thankfully you've helped those to return home. But in each case, you were talking about the gratification, or how you feel after it must be really gratifying to know that you help to bring comfort and closure to the families of those victims.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And like, I'm glad you brought that part up. Now, Mom texted me on Friday for Nathan, just out of Guelph area here. And I don't know about the satisfaction of that, because I still feel empty. And I wrote her back. I said, you know, maybe it's both of us have to have this healing, because I need to speak to you again. So I'm going to be speaking to her again, and her husband. Yeah. They were so dead set on the boyfriend and the father of the boyfriend murdering this boy. And it wasn't. And it turned out that it truly was a suicide. Wow. The satisfaction, again, and the reward, I guess, like anything, Jackie, you do, is that moment. Yeah. Because then afterwards, it's like, what's next? Can I, you know, is God going to grant me to do this any more longer? Am I going to be able to facilitate anything or help folks and utilize it properly? And, you know, and Michael, we filmed. Michael and I, we did that double homicide down in Kentucky. Yep. I don't know if Michael remembers this part, but we solved that case during that time. Yeah. And what happened was, and I write in the book, I wrote in the book too, because I put our feelings down, but I didn't personally put you in there, Michael. I just said it's us, more or less. When people step out of their boundary and they expect you, Jackie, to do more than you should. Yeah. And you can't. You've given so much from God to do, and you've proven it, but they more, it ruins the whole aspect of what you've done. Yeah. And that's what happened during this case of Michael and what we've done. Now, come fast forward, I get an email. Long story. You were right. She confessed on film. I have it. Can you come back and start to and finish this case? It's kind of hard when you have good people who do good things and you ruin it by doing that. And years later, you want us to come back. It's a karma. And I try to explain that. We can't step on toes during something like this. Spirit does not like it that way. I've seen it in many, many hundreds of cases I've done. And live, Michael was right there. So, you know, it gives the onus of this whole thing is on the people who want the help. Because once you ask, Spirit puts the guidance in the people it chooses. And those people are the ones that are the instrument to do this.
Yeah, I think that's very, very true. but there is another brilliant aspect about you, Robbie, is when you talk about, you know, people that have gone missing or whatever, you have two wonderful daughters, and you're very focused on them. I mean, I don't, God forbid, but I don't think anything will ever go wrong. Or if they go missing, they'll tell you where the hell they are.
Right. Yeah, I'm a teddy bear, but I still have that motorcycle mama guy in me, you know what I'm saying? No, I don't think, I am so focused, family focused and centered, friend focused. So if it happens or something happens, and just for instance, my one daughter's at school, I felt something was off, and I pick up the phone and I call the school. I'm embarrassing her because the phone rings in the classroom, and she tells me, Dad, you're embarrassing me. I said, but you don't understand. You're going to have an episode, and it's going to happen. No, Dad, I'm fine. My blood's fine. She's diabetic. No sooner she hung up, about maybe 2-3 minutes, she had an episode. So she was.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I mean, there's that type of thing, right? And knowing, their every move, they hate it. They truly hate it.
Well, of course they would. I mean, you, myself, and Jackie. When we were growing up, I hated the fact that my mom knew everything I was doing.
Right. Oh,
because
absolutely.
it was sort of like.
Right. Moms know everything. I'll tell you that. Moms know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course we do. Robbie, when you're preparing to work on a case, or when you're going to be doing a reading for somebody or whatever, do you connect with a spirit guide? So I connect with my spirit guides before I start to work, and I have a particular routine where I ground and protect, open more chakras and connect. How do you prepare? Do you connect with a spirit guide in that way?
Yeah. I pray to Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior.
Yeah.
A great example would be, I'm in Virginia filming the final wrap up of a paranormal series we did in 2017. And I get this message. Do you know anybody who could come to the hospital and read my husband? The doctors said he was brain dead, and they're going to take him and unplug him and kill him. And I said, no, I'm in Virginia, and I don't know anybody in that area. I can't think. I don't know anybody. My mind is set. We just landed. So I'm in Virginia. I said, I'll tell you what, you ask the doctors to hang on till Tuesday. And if they say, yeah, I'll make it there. And sure enough, they agreed. They waited. So me and my wife drove 12 hours straight from Virginia all the way back home. And it was like a late Monday night. And then Tuesday morning, I'm in the ICU. And they let us in. It's all secure. We let you in. Now, you could hear a pin drop because all the doctors and the nurses are all peering in the door. And they're all standing there like this watching. And I'm there, and I take my hat off. And I start praying. And all I said was, Lord Jesus, please have him speak to me, or my guides, or somebody who can tell me what's wrong with him. And sure enough, I started hearing a voice, a man's voice. It was his voice. So I got direct line to him. His eyes are open. He's not there. He had tubes coming out of every part of his body. There was nothing left of this man. So I hear, it's the wrong medicine. My brain is swollen, and I need time to heal. And I said it again. So I put my hat back on, and she goes, Julie, Kiff, she goes, it's bad. I said, no, it's good. And I hugged her. And the doctors are standing right there. And I told her what I just told you guys. And so I said, I'm going to let you be. I'm going to go back home now because you can handle the business. So I go home, and my phone is off the hook. Text messages, ringing, text message. And she says, poop has hit the fan. You ain't going to believe what happened. She said, the doctor heard what you said, got the chart from the nurses, looked at the chart. As soon as he read it, he said, take those IVs out of him. It's the wrong medicine.
Wow.
So they put the wrong medicine. And then they said, they went and did a scan, and his brain was swollen. So they said, he's going to be a vegetable, but he'll be in palliative care. And I said, it'll take time for me to heal. That's what he said. So sure enough, he's home like all of us. He's normal and he's alive. And yeah, and they wanted to unplug and kill him. So my main source is God, first and foremost. Yeah. And then anybody in this other side, my mother, my grandparents, anybody, the victim, my guides who can reach out to me, I listen.
Yeah.
Is there a way, Robbie, that you, because I know that your belief in God and everything is very, very strong. Do you find any conflict with your psychic ability and your religion?
I wouldn't call it religion. Although I've spoken at Catholic churches and schools and I've been asked to speak, so I have. I don't call it religion. God's not religion. God is of spirit and the main spirit in the universe that we reflect to. The only conflict I have is the inner fight I have at times where I say, you know, am I really getting the right message? You know, why couldn't I, if I got Victoria Stafford going missing 2 days prior to her going missing, and I drew exactly where her body was going to be, go on live radio, and the guy from 99.9, the Fox FM here in Sarnia, he goes, you showed me all that before she went missing, before they investigated it, and it's true. I said, God, if you can show me this stuff prior, why can't we stop the inevitable? We're not here to stop the inevitable. We're here to give messages. We're here to live and learn. I fight. That's the part I have a fight with. It's like when we went down to Kentucky, Michael, and as you're filming me, and I got that little girl's purse, and I'm going like this, it was her in me, and I couldn't stop, and I was crying, and I was going through her little purse going, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? She just got her license, and the precious thing that was missing from her purse just before she got murdered.
Yeah.
And so her mom was standing 20 feet away, and she goes, oh my God, it's right here. This is hers. She took it out of the purse prior to us filming. That's what she was looking for. So the only conflict I have is I need the right information. It has to be perfect all the time. I don't know if it's putting more pressure on myself to be perfect at what's to do, because I'm learning as I still go. Believe you and me, it's been 30 years of doing murder cases. I'm still learning. Yeah. It's tedious and it's very difficult on my own personal being. Like Jackie, when you do your work, it's got to be right, because then if it's not right, then you question it. Yeah. And I sit there and I toil over this. But you know what? In the end, it's like discussions like this that I'm able to say that, and then I look back and go, possibly that was all I was given, and that's all it needed to be given, because now they've solved it and it's done. So yeah, maybe that was it.
That's about being so honest, though, Robbie. You know, because what you do comes from a place of deep love. The works that you do, wanting to help people, and so it comes from a place of honesty, which is why you question. And I think a lot of mediums have that. You know, is that my imagination or is it communication? And it's not because we want to be perfect with that, it's because we want to give the best information and know that what is being channeled from spirit is from spirit and not us in the way, you know. And so it has to come from a place of honesty, and I think that's why spirit give proof in so many different ways. It's sometimes in such bizarre ways that you think, well, why did they give me that, you know? But it's literally because we need to know that that's okay. I love the way that you work, and I think you're a fascinating person to listen to. I know that you were planning to go on tour this year, weren't you? And because of the coronavirus, that's had to take a back seat. When can people hope to see you again? What's going to happen about the tour?
Yeah, we're rescheduling this tour. It's in play. We don't know what's going to happen in the States. We've got it kind of controlled here. Let's not take advantage of it, because it will come back far, harder. And then I'm looking at, I got filming of a new paranormal series coming up. and I have my own psychic crime true series with Citizens Pictures that's coming up. It was funny how all this came about because right at the pandemic start, worst time of everything. I mean, you're right. Like,
Yeah.
yay, everything's a go. No, it's not. You're stopping. The door shut right there. Yeah. Yeah. And then to cancel the tour. I mean, oh my gosh, I got crushed all the way around. But we are doing a virtual film for the pilot coming up here in September for the paranormal documentary series. And the other part is hopefully maybe next summer, right? That's what we can look at spring. But it's funny how it came about because it was Dog the Bounty Hunter, one producer, contacted me. And then my contract kind of ran out. And then just as I got notified in January 12, it was Dog and Beth, the Bounty Hunters head casting person. So both different series, but different people, but same Dog. Maybe I'm going to change my name to Dog. I don't know. Don't know. So anyways, yeah, and then everything's going great. And then that's when the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Right after in January. So I'm thinking, great. So I've been crying the blues to Michael almost every day.
Because I know you're a fabulous author as well, and I know you've got the book there behind you. But you've written sort of fiction as well as fact, haven't you? How many books have you written? I
have 10 in total so far. I have 3 that are the fact fictional, the Parasylum. So they're based on the actual Paranormal Encounters book and the movies Dead Whisperer and Sally House. I thought was, I'm just going to take everything and just warp it in the sense of paranormal horror. And that's what I've done. Yeah. And I put it in. What's fascinating is I get a phone call from Hollywood and he's on my Facebook and I can't believe it. He never talks to me. The only time he talked to me is when he called me. And it was the original It casting director for Stephen King. Wow. So Mark Tillman, he made RoboCop, MacGyver, all those shows we've seen and watched. So he's on the phone. He goes, I read 1 and read 2. And he goes, it's fascinating. He goes, bring out number 3. And I wasn't going to bring out number 3, but I did anyways. I based it on my wife's island. And the funny part was I wrote in, there's a nun getting on the plane to go over to this island, and we're a paranormal team. And that nun turns into the devilish type thing, right? And the rocky road in the plane. So we're going on vacation now for leisure, for real. And we're on the airport. And it's a small little plane. And I look over to my left like this, and I go, you ain't going to believe this. Right? Oh, and there's a nun. Oh, no. There's a freaking nun getting on the plane. And I go, we're not sitting next to her.
Be careful what you wish for, or in this case, be careful what you write about. Because you get premonitions like
you can never trust a nun if they're on a plane going to Portugal.
There ain't enough wine. There ain't enough wine. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So we can look forward to hopefully to seeing you on the screens when all of this takes place, when everything is safe to start the filming. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Me too.
It's been an absolutely fascinating time talking to you, and hopefully we can do this again a little bit further down the line, and then you can tell us what you're up to then. And we're going to put a link to your website as well at the end of this video, and then people can contact you themselves. They can they purchase the books from your website, or do they go to Amazon?
No, actually there's a link that'll take you to Amazon.
Brilliant.
It has all the
That's absolutely brilliant.
Well, everything takes you to Amazon these days.
Everything does.
Yeah, I was trying to put cream on my face this morning, and it was just like, no, go to Amazon.
Oh, thank you, Robbie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robbie.
It's been amazing talking to you, and we'll see you again shortly.
Well, thank you much.
Okay, bye.